All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Workbench, your resource-rich weekly podcast and newsletter for local service entrepreneurs. As always, the Workbench is brought to you by Lead Truffle, the number one AI speed to lead system for local business. Excited to be continuing the franchise theme here. We've talked to franchisors, we've talked to franchisees, we've talked to individual SMB owners, and excited to continue on the franchise theme here, getting the franchisee's perspective on the franchising world with Marcus here. He is the owner of a Pink's Windows franchise in Cincinnati. So Marcus, thank you so much for coming on. For people who may not be familiar with you, and then more broadly with Pink's Windows, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah. So I'm Marcus Celestin. I'm born and raised in Cincinnati, lived here my whole life, worked here my whole life, so never strayed too far. I did about a decade in corporate before I took that leap into business ownership. Never really had it in mind that I'd be headed down the path of a franchise, but nonetheless, here I am 9 months in with running Pink's. Pink's is a window cleaning business, window cleaning franchise, but we also do pressure washing, soft washes on houses, gutter cleanings. We have some ancillary services that we offer as well when folks have us in their home. But our primary service offering for the customers is window cleaning.
Yeah, very cool. So tell us a little bit, you have a unique yet kind of common story we hear on the podcast, which is someone had a career successful in some type of corporate, more 9 to 5 world, and then got disenchanted with that and decided to go out on their own. And in some cases started their own business from scratch, or in other cases joined a franchise. Tell us a little bit about kind of your journey leading up to joining Pink's Windows 9 months ago.
Yeah. So I spent about 10 years doing the kind of safe route, go get a college degree, go get a corporate job. And I did that. I started in consulting and then kind of quit with the travel route and just kind of worked my way up at a business to the point where I became a chief operating officer in an aerospace company. And I wasn't very far from where I kind of thought, like, this is where I kind of ultimately want to be in my career. This is, I see a clear path to a lot of compensation, a lot of responsibility, but I just felt like something was missing. The organization that I was working for was owned by a few individual shareholders who had kind of bought the company a decade before I joined or so, or years before I had joined. So I'd kind of seen people, individuals kind of buy a business, and it had always been in the back of my mind of, well, maybe I should give that a shot. Maybe I should try to buy a business versus trying to start one. So I spent years looking at and analyzing to death different business opportunities out there. Oh, should I buy this? No, this one makes me a little nervous to go secure, 7 figures of personally guaranteed debt to go take on this business. So I just kept looking and looking. And finally, I was like, maybe I should open up my mind to franchises a little bit. I'd always kind of thought it was Subway's, McDonald's, not really for me, either too much money or it just felt like it was just like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was going to be the right thing for me. But I got an email newsletter one day where someone was talking about Pink's, and I just saw the marketing. I saw it was really young, fresh brand. It was in-home services. So it was something that was interesting to me. And so I just started conversations. I sent it over to my wife and I was like, well, what do you think about Pink's? And she's like, well, this looks really cool. Keep the conversations going. And, I had a lot of really good discussions with them as to how they had built things up to this point. An investor, Cody Sanchez, who's pretty well known in the business buying and building space, became a co-owner of Pink's while I was looking at signing the document. So to me, it was kind of nice to see, hey, people from a different sphere were involved in Pink's. So ultimately, I decided, hey, let's take the leap. The older I get, the more difficult it's going to be to make these kind of changes in life. I've got 3 small kids. So one, which I had after starting the business this year. So I wouldn't recommend, necessarily doing that the same year, but nonetheless, here we are. So I figure when they get older, if I do this well and play my cards right, I'll have more time to be involved and be around for them and be able to control my schedule a bit more.
What was that first month like once you kind of made the decision to join, and now it's like, man, this is real. I gotta put gas in the truck and go maybe wash a window and just the nitty gritty of that first month in business.
Well, it's really fun to talk about doing these sorts of things. It's very different when you haven't done these sorts of things to actually start doing it. So I always the first week was very difficult for me when I first launched this business, and in the moment, like, it was very, very challenging. Now I can laugh and smile about it, but I always say, like, if you're interested in buying a business, especially a home service business, listen to how my first week went. And if you're still interested, then I think, you might be headed down a good path here. But day one, I had the flu after not having been sick for years and years and years, but I had to go to work.
Yeah.
I didn't have a
Yeah.
choice. No one knows what they're doing.
Right.
Day three, one of my brand new vans, the ones that I'm putting gas in, one of my employees wrecked it, and I only had one, and it took 2 months to get it repaired. So it's just like a pretty significant impact to the business on day three.
Yeah.
And then by day five, I was letting employees go. So it was a really rough kind of start. And, I definitely sat there for a few minutes saying, what did I do?
Yeah.
Did I leave a comfortable job? What what was I thinking here? But it was a huge lesson in perseverance and like keeping going in a way that like my corporate job had never provided to me. And yeah, it's been tough. It's been really hard. I've put in a lot of hours, a lot more hours than I was working for, and now I'm making less doing it at this point. I'm trying to build for the future, but it's been a huge lesson in resilience and just keeping going. And you'll get through anything, and I believe that wholeheartedly now in a way that I didn't before. So it's really tough to get going with it. I won't sugarcoat it. I mean, a lot of people romanticize business ownership and start a business, buy a business, put a manager in place, kick your feet up and collect six figures. And it's just not the reality that I've experienced. And I think that's normal. It's challenging, but it's definitely very rewarding.
Yeah, no, I can relate, man. I, spent 10 years plus at other companies on a good salary, and that has its own grind. You got to work your way up for sure. But then going back to ground zero and starting my own software business was, there's people don't talk about it's 3 months in and the money's not coming in the way you want. And there's a lot of shine around it. But once you're actually doing it, it's filled with a lot of, I guess you could say, negative emotions, to be honest. What is let's talk like through the business model itself. Can you kind of talk about like, how it works? What are your packages, scaling, like some of the nitty gritty around like actually making money from watching people's windows?
Yeah, so we typically lead with window washing. That's kind of our way in with a lot of customers. We do have folks who reach out to us regarding just wanting gutter cleaning or just wanting their house a soft wash or pressure washing, but it's typically led with window cleaning. The business goal is to kind of get it pretty split between commercial and residential. Certainly, certain times of years, residential's in the spring, in the fall before the holidays, is going to be much more popular with residential. When they're wanting their windows cleaned, commercial's a bit more stable throughout the year. So when you think about slower times, I'm in a cold weather area, so we try to focus on, beefing up the commercial to help carry through the business when it comes through the winter time. We usually lead with window cleaning. We try to get folks on recurring plans. So one, everybody wants that recurring revenue, but to put it into context, I mean, it takes a lot of effort to go out and either spend money to acquire these leads, or we're working hard through our networks, door knocking, different ways that we're acquiring some of these customers. So we want to keep them on the books. We want to make sure that they're super happy, and that then when 3 months roll by, 1 month rolls by, 6 months roll by, we know where some of this work coming from. So we're not always in such a hunting mode. It's kind of nice because Pinks is pretty big about pushing and you to really solidify that recurring revenue annually, so that now when 2026 rolls around, I already have, 25, 30, 50% of the revenue that I'm expecting to generate next year. I already know where some of that's coming from. So it also, lets me sleep a little bit at night, but it also helps with costs when it comes to customer acquisition.
Yeah. What's been, the best customer acquisition strategy for you, and how is that balance between, say, the franchisor doing, national PPC campaigns versus maybe you doing more localized marketing? What's working, what's not, and then what's that balance between you and the franchise for getting new customers?
Yeah, so what Pink does really well is a lot of the creative that we run for Facebook and Instagram. So the meta platforms we typically do really well on. At least I've had that experience here, and I know others have as well. They're really good at getting you going on that to get some of the leads when no one knows who you are. Their ads stand out enough where people are willing to click and give you a chance, and you can get in front of customers, and then it's on you. So that part's really good. What has happened and kind of been an evolution over this year is to kind of localize those ads. So we've moved from some of the candid ads that are produced in Austin with the team in Austin to now, hey, you guys as owners are going to take selfie videos in front of your van, in front of landmarks in your cities. Here's kind of the general script you're going to follow, but you're going to localize it so it feels more unique. There's a good example of like folks in Arizona probably need like cactuses in the background of their stuff. If you don't see that, it doesn't feel local. So how can you get to that point? So, Facebook and Instagram is definitely a big lead generator, but it's been, as time's gone on, we've tried to localize it a bit, and the good service that we offer really produces a lot of word of mouth leads. It's kind of nice. I'm even sitting here this week and, ad spend has gotten a little more expensive this time of year just as we move into the holidays and the kind of cost per lead. However, I'm getting a lot from the good work that we've done previously. So it just kind of that compounding effect of really delivering that good service that Pink's expects of us and that we try to deliver pays dividends when it comes to getting that lead flow on the back end.
What do you think now that you're 9 months in was the biggest challenge in getting this business going?
I think one of the biggest challenges for me was definitely thinking that I could do more than I could. I think when it came to managing the jobs, managing the people, managing the sales, I moved a bit slower than I think I probably could have had I brought people in sooner. So it's that
Yeah.
trade-off of, do you want to, have that cash outflow and expense be greater than you were expecting, or do you want to do more and move a little slower? I think as time's gone on, I've definitely outsourced more things. So when it comes to finding talent, I've pulled in some partners to help me with some of that because it's just so crucial to find good people. And that's taken a long time to get to the point where now I'm quite clear in understanding this is exactly what we're looking for. This is a great team that we've got. We need to protect this team and keep them around because they're doing a really good job for our customers. So the people component of that has been huge. Now that we're getting a good team in place, it's me being able to pull back and say, hey, you guys are going to run some of the day-to-day. I'm going to focus on some of our strategic partnerships and some of the relationships that we've built here to help really bolster and strengthen our sales a bit. So I think the biggest challenge for me was thinking I could do it all,
Yeah.
but it's just not the reality.
If you knew, if you had what you like, if you knew everything you knew now from the past 9 months and you could go back to 9 months ago, do you think you would still join a franchise or start your own business?
I definitely see the benefit of joining a franchise. To not have to worry about so many different things out there, like the website, the colors, the fonts, like all those things just take so much time. And to have that completely taken off my plate, I see a huge benefit because joining a franchise doesn't guarantee success, but it gives you a playbook to follow when like you feel lost. There's always something to anchor back to. You have a network of people to go to. So joining a franchise definitely makes me more pro franchise. I'm joined a newer franchise, so they're still figuring things out in some ways. And I think, I see that. We see that we're still all figuring things out, but they're very transparent about some of those sorts of things. So I think there's a huge benefit to franchising. There's definitely benefits to starting a business. I would probably be more well equipped to go start a business on my own now, having been down this route. But I think, it's definitely a positive being a part of a franchise.
When it comes to scaling a franchise, like what are the prospects for growth? Like, I think I'd imagine eventually you'll hit a certain capacity in Cincinnati where, all right, we have whatever 20 trucks on the road in
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Like, how do you, when you have your own business, you can kind of, obviously there's a lot of challenge. You can kind of scale as much as you want. What are the stipulations around, and how are you thinking about scale and saturation over the next couple of years?
Yeah. I think we've got a long way to go. So I own two territories, kind of the east half Cincinnati, if you kind of drew a line down the middle, two areas that I'm pretty familiar with. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think we've just started to scratch the surface. So I think we've got a long way to go. There are some neighboring territories for expansion that we could, pursue as to something to tack on. There's some nearby cities that are probably more like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. If you think like Lexington, Columbus, that are unsold at least today, that present an opportunity to say, well, if I can really iron out this business model and understand it super well, could I acquire the available territories that exist in a neighboring city and kind of build it from afar a little bit rather than build it in my backyard. So these are all kind of things that are popping into my mind. It's really easy to run down those routes to say, should I buy more territories? Should I do this? Or, let's squeeze as much as we can out of the territories that we've got here first before leaping to that. And I have to have that battle with myself all the time. But I think there's definitely a lot of room for growth despite, still having to acquire territories if you truly want to expand and things like that.
What are what's your focus now? You're coming up on a couple months, you'll be at year one. What are your kind of core priorities, just as small as simply as like year two? Like what's the focus there for you?
Yeah. So I think year one was really developing systems, trying to put a team in place and really grab our hands around what this means. As we move into year two, I think I've got a manager stepping into place on Monday full time. So that is great. He will run a lot of the day-to-day, manage a lot of our kind of lead flow that comes in. I think there's a huge opportunity for us to have more strategic partnerships and to work more closely with people who can help advance our business forward. So we've got some partnerships now with like window installation companies that replace windows that
Nice.
we can come
Yeah.
in after the fact to do cleaning with. And I think we've just kind of started to talk about some of those things. And I think there's a lot of commercial opportunity here where we just haven't had the time to build some of those relationships that will help kind of bolster the business on the commercial side of things. So year two for me is very much strengthening the base that we've got, but also adding in commercial and giving that a bit more legs to grow.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool, Mark. Is anything we didn't get to here today that you wanted to cover?
I don't think too much. I think that, ultimately it's never easy, no matter what kind of business you're starting. You're starting
Yeah,
from scratch or starting a franchise. It's never
agreed.
easy, but it's good to know that you don't have to go it alone. There's a lot of things like this. You can watch these podcasts, you can join groups, there are people out there going through similar struggles that you're going through. So you can go at it alone, but you don't have to. I think there's a lot of opportunities out there because it can feel lonely, but it really doesn't need to be. It's hard,
Yeah.
but you can get through it.
No, 100%, man. Love that. So, yeah, Marcus, thank you for your time and making some time in your busy schedule for folks who want to maybe connect with you personally, Twitter, LinkedIn, or just learn more about your company. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Marcus Celestin. You can check out Pink's Windows, or I'm on Instagram as Marcus and Cincy. Any of those places work.
Sounds good, Marcus. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you.